This is part 3 to the Essay Unity series, basically about keeping your essay on topic. It provides some skills and strategies that you can use to do that. In the first, we talked about what classifying is and how you can use that for making sure that items fit in the appropriate groups. From there, we talked about how to use classifying as a way to make sure that your thesis is going to be on topic with your topic sentences. If you have completed all of those and also worked on your essay along with it, you should have a thesis and topic sentences that are unified, or at least pretty close to doing so. So now the next step is making sure that the evidence is also unified. So here we go. There is, thank goodness, an evidence unity test. So we are going to put the evidence unity test just by sensing it with 3 different paragraphs. So all of the paragraphs are about check cashing that you're going to see in just a couple moments. Additionally, all of them are trying to prove the same supporting point, that check cashing negatively impacts their customers by charging them expensive service fees. Given that is the topic sentences, we want to make sure the evidence is on that topic sentence. But one of these paragraphs is much more persuasive than the others, and one of them isn't persuasive at all. Which paragraph is the most persuasive and the most effective, and which is absolutely not? And this is all a matter of evidence and unity. So here's the first one, and there are typos in some of these. So check cashing negatively impacts their customers by charging them expensive service fees. Because check cashing services are often used by customers who do not have alternate resources for cashing paychecks, they can often stomach the large fees these businesses charge for their services. Or they often stomach. According to Princeton sociology professor Matthew Desmond, the, quote, American prison system seems designed to break up all sorts of relationships. By one estimate, the number of marriages would increase by as much as 30% if we didn't imprison a single person, unquote, citation. Check cashing causes major infancy's strain on the customers who use the service by taking such a large percentage of their income, essentially charging them for getting a paycheck. If they were able to get free access to their hard-earned money, they would save up to 10% of that back in their pocket. That was not my greatest reading either. Okay, so there's that one, and there's this one. Same topic sentence. Check cashing negatively impacts their customers by charging them expensive service fees. So I'll read this one as well. Because check cashing services are often used by customers who do not have alternative resources for cashing paychecks, so they often stomach the large fees these businesses charge for their services. According to Princeton sociology professor Matthew Desmond, quote, tens of millions of Americans do not end up poor by mistake of history or personal conduct. Poverty exists because some wish and will it so, unquote, citation. Check cashing causes major strain on the customers who use the service by taking such a large percentage of their income, essentially charging them for getting a paycheck. If they were able to get free access to their hard-earned money, they'd have up to 10% of it back in their pocket. And finally, C. Check cashing negatively impacts customers by charging them expensive service fees. Because check cashing services are often used by customers who do not have alternative resources for cashing their paychecks, they also often stomach the large fees these businesses charge for their services. According to Princeton sociology professor Matthew Desmond, quote, check cashing stores charge between 1 and 10% of the total, depending on the type of check. In 2020, Americans spent $6 billion just to cash checks, unquote, citation. Check cashing causes major financial strain on the customers who use the service by taking such a large percentage of their income, essentially charging them for getting a paycheck. If they were able to get free access to their hard-earned money, they'd have up to 10% of that money back in their pocket. Reactions. Do you want a chart? Here's the chart. So essentially, this was the first piece of evidence. It was so not unified. The topic was about check cashing services and the negative impacts from service fees. That topic needs to be in there, right? The evidence was about the American prison system. It just totally doesn't fit. The evidence is about prison systems and not about, or is about prison systems and marriage, not check cashing and how the services hurt customers. Because of that paragraph, it seemed to lack logic as well. We don't want to do that just by, stuffing evidence in there that doesn't belong. Next one, tens of millions of Americans do not end up poor by mistake of history or personal conduct. Poverty persists because some wish and will it to do so. It's talking about, the ways that, there's things that are organized in society to help keep people poor because others benefit from it. But this is, a more specific representation of that we need evidence for. We need something about check cashing. We don't need about the problem generally. This is evidence for basically any of the arguments that most people could make about Matthew Desmond's work, right? Granted, you might not agree with him, but this is essentially what he is, the thesis for the entire book. Because of that, it's not really good evidence for an argument about check cashing fees. And also the reason that the check cashing fees are being talked about, the fact that they have, negative impacts on the customers. So you need something about check cashing. And that last paragraph, that was on it, right? So check cashing stores charge between 1% and 10% of the total, depending on the type of check in 2020, et cetera, et cetera. So that was very unified. It was on check cashing, it was on the service fees, and it was on the negative impacts. So that boom, boom, boom. So it had all the topics, and it had the point of view that the writer was trying to convey. That's a good piece of evidence. Very, very unified, right? So the criteria for unified evidence. It must be on the same topic as the topic sentence. Not even close or sort of, the exact same topic. It also needs to be specific, the topic sentence of your paragraph, right? It can't be just this general broad thing that sort of relates. We need evidence for the claim you're making, not just for the concept that covers everything that's related to what you might be arguing. We don't want point of view. In general, we want specific pieces of evidence backing up specific claims. So for this one, these are the topics: check cashing and their customers and service fees. So all of those need to be in the evidence, right? But on top of being on the same topic, it also needs to express the same point of view about that topic. So the point of view that they have in this is that it negatively impacts their customers by charging them expensive service fees, right? So it has all of it, both the topics, the specific ones, and also the argument, the negative impacts. And because of that, it's a really unified piece of evidence. And when you have a thesis and clear topic sentences, you can figure out pretty easily where all of that evidence goes. It just needs to be on the same topic specifically and also express the point of view that you're trying to convey, right? So this is how you do it. So here we go. Outline of the topic sentence and of the evidence, what we got here. Okay, so topic sentence A and evidence A, topic sentence B and evidence B, topic sentence C and evidence C. When it is placed like this, it's really easy to see whether or not it matches. This is the 3 paragraphs that we just looked at with their topic sentence and the evidence isolated. This is part of what you do with an outline. Since it's easier to see it when it's like this, because the paragraph you get wrapped up in all the other stuff. And not just that, we're tired at this point of the semester. We don't want any extra distractions. You can tell what is going on with your evidence and whether or not it matches the topic sentences and in turn supports the thesis. So we are going to be doing outlines this week. They should be done by the end of the week, and and we'll talk about them. More information about that on Canvas. There'll be one short videos, but it's really just a review so that you have all the skills that you learned in these videos handy in one place without any of the other distractions. It's the summary, but in a way it's also an outline of the lessons in these 3 videos. All right, that's it.